Hello, my name is Emily Reston and today I am presenting my presentation on human immunity. I'm going to talk to you about specific and non-specific lines against defence of disease. I will explain the different lines of defence we have and go into information about how these work. I will then talk about the immune system, how this works to protect the body, how we get immunity and what role the defence cells play in our body. Lastly, I'm going to talk to you about our bodies and how they know the difference between foreign antibodies and our own antibodies. I will then discuss several types of autoimmune conditions and how they respond in our bodies. And on a final note, I'll conclude my presentation with some information about vaccinations, how they are made up and how they work, and how they give us immunity and the benefits of these, and go into evaluation about them. Our bodies have 3 lines of defence to help us fight against pathogens. Pathogens are used to describe anything that invades the body. This can be from parasites, viruses, funguses and bacteria. Our first line of defence is our skin, which is our largest organ, and the mucosal membranes which line all our body's orifices. The skin and the mucosal membranes protect the body from pathogens using a physical and chemical barrier to stop them entering our body. The skin acts as a barrier when unbroken. The skin is made up of different layers which stop the pathogens from entering. It's waterproof and protects us from chemicals and toxins. We are born with our first line of defence. Our second line of defence is the way the body reacts to the pathogen within the body. The body has an immune response when it detects pathogens. This has different white blood cells which work together to help destroy the pathogen and keep the immune system healthy. Macrophages are cells that are present in fighting infection. They move to the area of an infection to help fight it. They also send messages to the immune system to help trigger an attack mode to fight the infection. When the body has an immune response to the pathogen or infection, it shows the inflammatory response. Our temperature will rise. This is the body's way of heating up to help fight the infection. We get redness, swelling and pain at the site of infection. This is the increased blood flow to the pathogen-eating cells gathering around the area. This is a non-specific response to the pathogen and infection. Our third line of defence uses different immune cells to target antigens to destroy and break down the pathogen. Just like our second line of defence, in the first and second lines of defence, these are non-specific responses, so they're how the body reacts to fight all pathogens, but not targeted at a certain type of pathogen. The first line of defence has a specific reaction targeted to a certain type of pathogen. The immune cells all play a role and work together. Our innate immune system is made up of leukocytes, otherwise known as white blood cells, that are present in the immune system. There are 5 types that play a role in attacking an antigen. Neutrophils are the first at the scene, attacking and breaking down the antigen. These are the most common of the 5 types of white cell. Lymphocytes, these are found in the lymphatic tissue. These give the immune system memory and the antibodies to fight infection. Monocytes, these eat dead cells and pathogenic cells. They're the largest of the white blood cells. Eosinophils, these destroy parasites and allergens by releasing toxins into the bloodstream. Basophils work inside the immune system fighting pathogens and parasites. They release histamine to fight allergens. They also are an anticoagulant release. Acquired immunity is when our body has used its memory to remember how to fight a certain pathogen, and it targets its response using T and B cells. There are several types of T and B cells that work together. T cells help B cells grow while fighting the antigens in our body. They work along helper T cells. These build our immune system and make it stronger. Cytotoxic T cells are responsible for fighting and breaking down the pathogen. We also have suppressor cells which regulate our immune system and stop it from getting out of control and attacking itself. B cells produce an antigen to help the body fight the pathogen, and memory B cells ensure the body remembers how to do so for next time. Immunoglobulins, otherwise known as antibodies, are what the body produces to help fight infection. There are several types of antibodies, and they all work slightly differently to fight the pathogens. IgG is the most common antibody we get while developing in our womb from our mothers. This helps us attack the antigens. IgA is part of our cell's defense system and lives in all of our mucosal linings. IgM, it helps the growth of the B receptor, also helps attack antigens. IgE is the less common one that helps fight background infections and allergens such as hay fever. IgD, this is the least common, in fact quite rare. Its function is a bit of a mystery, however we know it's a B receptor. Our immune system is highly intelligent. It can recognise what antigens are and what antigens are its own and which ones are invaders. Our own antigens do not trigger T and B cells, therefore it will not attack itself. We have MHC1 and MHC11 antigens which pick out and sort all the cells with nucleuses. It protects our own and destroys the invading cells. Our immune response to antigens varies. Sometimes we become hypersensitive to antigens and we have a greater response. For example, hay fever, in some people they may get slight sensitivity and others may present with greater symptoms. Sometimes our immune system fails self-tolerance and self-recognition. This can be due to autoimmune diseases. Our immune system fails to recognise its own antigens and can attack and destroy healthy ones that belong to ourselves. People with autoimmune diseases can show symptoms such as pain, swelling, red heated areas, redness of the skin. Autoimmune disease can lay dormant and can flare up without a warning. Testing for autoimmune conditions can be a lengthy process, but it can be detected via blood testing for antinuclear antibodies or C-receptive proteins. Lupus is a chronic autoimmune disease that attacks healthy tissue through the body. The symptoms include a butterfly rash upon the face, hair loss, high temperature, chronic tiredness, mouth ulcers. It can be managed with anti-inflammatory medications and immunosuppressants. Psoriasis is an autoimmune disease of the skin. Symptoms include red scaly skin that itches and that comes in patches all over the body, joint pain, nail problems and stiffness of the joints. Treatments include topical medications containing vitamins, minerals and steroids, and it can also be treated with light therapy. We are not born with acquired immunity, we gain it through our lives. We have active and passive immunity, both natural and artificially gained. Natural active immunity is gained from our bodies fighting a pathogen. The pathogen enters our body. This triggers a response from the T cells. The T cells travel down the bloodstream attached to the pathogen. The T cells activate the B cells response. The B cells fight and destroy the pathogen by producing antibodies. As well as fighting the pathogen, the B cells then become memory cells. The memory cells then build up a natural immune memory to the specific type of pathogen. Active artificial immunity is acquired from our bodies behaving the same way as it does naturally to the pathogen. However, we purposely expose ourselves to the pathogen through a vaccine. Natural passive immunity is gained between mother and baby. This can be gained before birth through the mother passing antibodies through the bloodstream into the fetus, and this can also be gained after birth within breastfeeding. Breast milk contains natural antibodies that can give babies immunity for up to 6 months after birth. Artificial passive immunity can be passed from one human to another through the transfusion of antibodies. This is good, and the body will react the same way to fight the pathogen as if it was its natural ones. However, the body will break down these antibodies within a couple of weeks, so the transfusion is short-lived. The diagram illustrated shows the categories of immunity. We gain immunity via vaccinations. Vaccinations are made up of harmless fragments, pathogens, live pathogens, toxins and dead cells. Exposing the body to the pathogens cause the B cells to activate and fight the pathogen. The B cells also produce memory cells of how it fought and destroyed a certain pathogen in the vaccination. While this is happening, we may get some symptoms of illness from the vaccination, but once the B cells have destroyed the pathogen, the symptoms will subside. The memory B cells are stored in case somebody comes into contact with the pathogen again. The body's natural defence will know how to fight it quicker and more efficiently. The body would produce antibodies at a rapid rate, much faster than the first encounter, sometimes quick enough that we don't even get symptoms from the illness again. This is called our immunological memory. The vaccination has allowed us to gain acquired immunity to fight the same pathogen again. Herd immunity works by people taking up a vaccination, so they do not get ill if there was an outbreak of infectious disease. This stops the spread and reduces the number of affected people. So the more people that are vaccinated, the less people become infected. So we can eradicate disease this way if enough people take up the vaccination. There are also factors that can actually jeopardize this concept, like different strains of the disease, the pathogen becoming undetected, people getting infected before they opt for the vaccination, and social and religious beliefs also play a role. In the UK, we have many vaccination programmes to help us stay protected. We vaccinate against MMR, TB, Mense, HPV and the flu. Vaccines can be live, which do have disease-causing viruses and bacteria within the makeup of them. These often trigger a greater immune response in our bodies and make antibodies at the first dose administered. Inactive vaccines are made up from the same virus and bacteria. However, they have been inactivated with chemicals and heat. These often require multiple doses for the body to produce antibodies. Getting vaccinated has many different benefits to us, to others and the world that we live in. Getting vaccinated can stop us becoming extremely ill. It can also reduce the complications from the disease itself. Although vaccinations are unable to cure viruses, they can help with the side effects from these and the other harmful illnesses viruses can cause. Vaccinations have been proven in studies to lower death rates, lengthen life expectancy. Childrenhood vaccinations lower infant deaths, which has a positive effect on women not having as many pregnancies due to child loss, so women are able to work more, study more and excel in life. Being vaccinated makes us more well as a population as a whole, which means we can work and grow with the economy. Being vaccinated has a benefit of not putting stress on the ever-growing strain of the NHS. It means that illnesses that we would normally require a hospital visit for may not be as severe if we are vaccinated. I've evaluated some data that has been collected in 2024 around the HPV vaccination. Before the HPV vaccination, around 28,000 women were diagnosed with cervical cancer per year, and another staggering 300,000 had a non-invasive cervical carcinoma in England alone. After collecting data for one entire year on 3 cohorts of vaccinated women, there had been a reduction of 448 diagnoses of cervical cancer and a further staggering reduction of 17,235 diagnoses of non-invasive cervical carcinoma. This is an amazing reduction. The HPV vaccination is given to schoolgirls aged 12. They receive one dose at age 12 and another 6 months later. Although the figures show just how beneficial this is, sadly, according to figures, only 27% of girls aged 12 opted to have the vaccination last year. I feel if we would aim our interest and information more at parents and children and show how beneficial this could be, we may just get an increase of an uptake on this vaccination. Thank you for listening. The next slide is my references and my last slide is my bibliography. Thank you.